Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and get started with the interview and and we'll go along.
Okay.
Alright, so pool friends meet Chris Byers by popular demand. Um, let's get started by just going over how you got started playing pool, what got you
Okay.
into the game and that sort of thing.
All right. Well, I used to bowl when I was a kid, like 11 or 12 years old, and there was pool tables in the bowling alley, and I just started knocking balls around on them, and I kind of just was hooked from there. So I kind of just said, screw bowling, and switched over to pool. So that's how it all began for me.
And then where did you play?
Um, I used to play at Rialto's, or not Rialto's, Classics, or not Classics either, Break Time Billiards in Tigard. Um,
Kevin Parr's place.
Yeah, Kevin Parr's place.
Yeah.
That was the first pool room I started playing at. And then they shut down, and I started playing at Hot Shots because that was closest to me. So,
So when you started playing, how many hours a day did you play, and kind of walk us through what kind of transpired to get you to a level that you were really serious?
well, at that point, I just started, so I was so hooked on it. I was playing 6 to 8 hours a day, easy, if not more. I also had school, so I would just go to school, get off school, and go straight to the pool hall, pretty much. Yeah, I did that for at least 4 years, from when I was probably 13 to 16 or 17. I was playing that much.
Wow.
So
And then did you primarily play other people and compete against other people? Did you play by
did.
yourself?
I played a lot by myself, but I also tried to find like all the best players I could, all the players that were better than me, and play them, because I knew that was the only way I was going to get better.
And who were those players at that time?
Well, Kevin was better than me at that time, so I was playing Kevin. Tony Newman. He was a guy that was in there. I played a lot. Arlo was in town, living around here. Arlo Walsman. He was probably the one I looked up to most when I was that age, because he was the best player that I knew of around town.
Oh, yeah, he was really talented.
He was, so I definitely looked up to him, literally, because he was taller than me, too. So.
What? That doesn't happen very often.
I know.
So, tell us about I know that it's a little more personal, but, tell us about some of the other things that you were also dealing with at the time that, ultimately it sounds like pool was an escape, but, why don't you share a little bit in what was going on in your life?
My family was going through a lot of rough times during that period. My mom had a lot of issues with substance abuse and chronic pain and stuff like that, and so the situation was definitely not ideal. We were low on money and stuff, and some of the stuff going on in the household was not so good for me, I guess you could say, and so I got caught up in some things that I wish I hadn't, which kind of took me away from pool for a while.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I've dealt with addiction, for a long time. I've been addicted to quite a few things, and I've been through treatment and stuff, and it had eventually caught up to where my mom overdosed when I was 18, 19 years old, and I still hadn't been playing pool for a couple of years prior to that, but it just got out of hand, and so I eventually just hit rock bottom. I was homeless. I got in trouble with the law, stuff like that. So, yeah, I just recently got out of all that and recovered from that, or am recovering from that this past year, getting back in the pool and stuff. So,
It sounds like, in a lot of ways, pool saved your life, or really helped take you to a different place, or
it did. It did. It's kind of my escape. I mean, if I didn't have that, who knows where I'd be right now, because that's the one constant thing that makes me happy, I think. Puts me in a peaceful state of mind.
Yeah, I know too, like, from having kind of been, in the area and involved in the pool community. I didn't, know you personally at that time, but had a lot of friends who really cared and, really wanted to, be there for you and see you, get to the other side. Were there people and the things that they did throughout that really hit a chord with you?
I'm glad you mentioned that, because there were some of the only people that were there to, support me and have my back were people in the pool world or pool related, and so I think if anybody's watching, if you know who you are, I couldn't be grateful enough,
Is
to
there
have that
anyone that
support.
you would, want to thank specifically?
During that time, Shelby, what's her last name? Buttman, yeah. And Stacy Elliott's were trying to help me a lot, which I really appreciate. And, Todd and Darren, Todd Gooch, Darren Walding, they were there for me too, so much appreciated. And I can't think of any other names
Well,
right
that's
now,
okay.
off
I
the
mean,
bat,
yeah. I've always felt like the pool players are kind of a second family, because we're a small community,
We are,
and I know that Dom
Dom,
had,
yes, Dom.
really
Dom really
cared a lot, and Shelby did, and Andrew, and I mean,
there's a lot of names,
a lot of people. So it's hard being on the other end of that to know, if that makes a difference. I mean, it has to, but to what degree that makes a difference, and that sort of thing. So I'm going to get into some of the questions that other people have asked, and then we'll kind of see where it goes from there.
Sure.
So John Scudder asked, which part of the game requires the most work for you?
That's a tough question. I would say probably the amount of hours I put in for practice. That's the toughest for me.
To put those hours in, or
lately it is, yeah. That's probably the hardest game. As far as like inside the game, like bank shots or kick shots or something like that, it's all pretty even for me.
So it's finding that motivation to get in and practice is what you're. Okay. So Chris Nealon asked, what keeps you focused throughout these long, grueling tournaments?
I just try and stay in the same state of mind the whole time, if that makes any sense. Like, I just try and focus on the end result and realize what I have to do to get there, and just stay focused on that.
He also asked if you have a favorite room to play in, or what is your favorite room to play in and why?
I would say probably either California Billiard Club or Hard Times Sacramento are my two favorite rooms I've been to, played in.
And why? What is it about those rooms?
Just the atmosphere, the size of them, the tables, the equipment, how good the players are down there and stuff. It motivates me to want to play good, and so.
Um, do you get more motivation out of watching better players and better pool, or um, what? How do you digest that when you watch a better player? What are you thinking to yourself, and what do you
Well,
take away from that?
um, Shane is probably the one that motivates me the most when I watch him, and just his precision and smoothness, and just how effortless it looks for him to play perfect is just phenomenal to me. And so it motivates me to want to do the same. I just want to get up and run racks pretty much after watching him. So
Is it the stroke or
yeah,
the
yeah, the stroke, just his whole demeanor, pretty
Mhm.
much the
Okay.
whole package.
So, do you have specific goals or any certain events that you would like to win?
Um, yeah, um, I definitely want to win one of these mez stops eventually. That's a short-term goal, which I think is coming up pretty close. And I definitely would love to win like the U.S. Open. I mean, that would be cool, but I still know I'm a long ways away from that, so it's a lot of work. But that's kind of what I'm focused on right now in that regard.
When you say a long ways away, because locally, I'm sure a lot of people really don't think you're a long ways away from that. So, what makes you say a long ways away from
I
that?
think I just need more seasoning, more experience, and I think if I get that, then I'll be there. I mean, I still have a lot of things to learn too, but those are the main two things.
When you talk about learning things, in your mind, is there a chronicle progression of what you have learned and ultimately like what you still need to see yourself as needing to learn?
Um, I think there used to be to a degree, but now I'm kind of just seeing what I need to learn after going to all these tournaments. I kind of see where my mistakes are, and then I know, so then I work on them. This last event I just played at in Vegas, I definitely learned what I need to work on to get me to where I'm not making those mistakes, to where I lose. So,
So, the $1 million question, what do you need to learn?
well, specifically for this event, I mean, my cue ball needs better control on the bar boxes, so that's just something I need to work on. But other than that, like I said before, it's just needed more experience and more seasoning.
Mm-hmm. Uh, do you, uh, um, this is kind of asked and answered in terms of, you said Shane Van Boning is one. Do you emulate or try to be like any other players or just specifically that one? Or
I've picked up a lot of what I do from Shane, Alex Pagulayan, Efren, the usual, best players. Um, I like Scott Frost too. I picked up some things from him. So
do you watch much pool or where do you see these
I
players?
used to watch a lot of pool, at least an hour or two a day. Not so much anymore, but now I'm seeing all these players in person more frequently instead of just on YouTube or whatever, and actually playing them, which is cool. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Was there any particular matches that stand out in your mind when you were first playing these players that you've seen? And can you describe the nerves and kind of what goes through your head?
The very first pro I actually played was Shane, and I was 15 at the Reno Bar Box Championships, and I was shaking so bad that I could barely hold the cue or straight. So it was pretty funny. and I lost, of course, but it was a good experience. It was awesome. So.
Yeah. And if you're out there in the audience and watching live right now, you can comment in with your questions. I would see those and make sure to ask Chris type of thing. So where do you see your game right now, and then where do you see it in the future?
I think I've come a long ways, especially after not playing for a couple years and just getting back into it. I think I'm playing at a pretty high level. Within a couple years, I think I can be consistently beating higher level players.
Do you have aspirations to like play on the Moscone Cup team, or to travel abroad, or
Traveling abroad, I definitely would like to do. At least get around the country. I haven't been to the East Coast to play yet, which is something I really want to do. Also would love to get out of the country and play. So
yeah. So Bob Olson asked, what percentage of the game is mental?
90. I'd say 90.
Now, I have a question kind of in relation to that. Do you think that changes as the skills in your game change?
I think so, because once you're first starting, fundamentals and stroke and all that kind of eat up a bigger percentage of the game. But once you master those and those are sound, I think it becomes a lot more mental after that.
Yeah, I mean, definitely it seems like, in a match, like we've talked about before, you might get one opportunity or that one mistake can cost you, ultimately the match.
At that level of play, that's, the highest level of play, one mistake can cost you, one missed opportunity can cost you, and so you have to be mentally strong enough to take advantage of that opportunity when it comes, and stay focused, stay calm. It's very important, or you lose your head, you basically lose. So
yeah. Angela Higgins asked what cues you shoot with, and if there's a particular reason why.
I currently shoot with the Lucasi. I think it hits really well. Hopefully going to try and pick up a sponsor from them eventually, which would be cool. And braking with LeBeau, brake cue, Sheldon LeBeau, breaks very well. And my jump cue is a P-Shower jump cue, and it jumps very well. So
clearly. So Bob went ahead and asked if you're doing anything to improve your mental game and what you think that is.
I think getting out and playing all these events is improving my mental game, because the more I play, the more I see where I need to improve mentally and where my flaws are.
Angela asked about tips, and I'm not sure if that means the tips that you use on your cues or the tips if you have tips for people. So why don't you tell us what kind of tips you use on your cues?
I use a Kamui Black Super Soft tip on my playing cue. I have no idea what tips on the other two, so...
And do you have any advice for people out there that might want to be like you? So we'll answer both questions.
Just, if you want to get good, it's a lot of hard work, a lot of discipline. Your motivation has to be really high. I mean, you gotta want it, and that's the best tip I can give, is to just put in the work and, play the best players, watch the best players, and, yeah.
So, what do you think motivated you to start out with?
Probably watching all the pool I did, watching all the pros. It just motivated me. I wanted to be there. I wanted to be on that TV table at the U.S. Open or the Derby City Classic or whatever. I think that's what drew my motivation the most. So.
Um, Tyler Hansen asked who you look up to locally.
Currently or before?
Well, you can answer it both ways if you'd like.
Well, I don't know. Glenn Atwell, when he was here, I looked up to him. I only just recently met Steve, so, I mean, I look up to him in ways. Now.
Elaborate on that there, buddy.
Oh boy, that opened a can of worms.
I don't know. I mean, I looked up to Arlo Walsman. He was definitely probably the one I looked up to the most locally. No offense there, Steve.
Well, no, I just thought you since he chimed in, you totally went in the other direction instead of answering that question, which
sorry.
That's okay. Maddie wants to know if you're joining the family league.
Yeah. Yep. I am.
All right. So, how much do you practice now?
I try and practice 2 to 3 hours every day or every other day, which is not nearly enough, but that's what I shoot for.
And then, what do you do when you're practicing?
Well, I just work on things that I need to work on. There's not really any drills I do. I'll work on my break. I'll play one pocket against myself. I'll play straight pool. If there's a certain shot I'm having trouble with, I'll work on that. There's some systems and stuff I like to work on too to keep in shape. So.
Shelby wanted to say hi to you.
Hi, Shelby.
Mike Deichman asks what your other interests or hobbies are.
Well, I like to work out or exercise. It helps me feel good, and I don't know, it's a natural high, I guess you could say. Releases natural endorphins and keeps my endurance up for tournaments and whatnot, and keeps me healthy. I like to play basketball, and yeah, I like to travel too, but that's usually connected with pool. So
yeah, I know that we've talked about it before. You follow, I think, what would be considered a pretty strict diet compared to most Americans type of thing. You don't eat virtually any sugar.
right.
Do you want to tell me what brought you to that decision and why you do that?
Well, I beat myself up for a long time health-wise. I lived a very unhealthy lifestyle for a long time, and
I mean, you're 21, so.
I know. Well, it started when I was 16, so for a good portion of my life so far, it was pretty unhealthy.
Fair enough.
And I destroyed my body to a degree, and so once I got a little better and healed, I kind of just got this drive to be as healthy as humanly possible, and so I just cut out sugar. I cut out all the fast food, soda, candy, that type of thing. Try and eat as healthy as possible and keep my body healthy.
Good.
So.
Maddie had asked if there's particular songs that get you fired up or in the right mental state. Do you use music to do that sort of thing?
Yeah, I do. I don't know, there's a few songs by Eminem and that kind of genre of music that I listen to pump me up.
So Craig Irwin asked what aiming system you use.
I really don't have an aiming system. I kind of just, it's mostly feel for me.
Okay. He also asked what practice drill you think is most useful, or do you do any drills?
I mean, straight pool is a good drill. It's a game, but it's a good drill too. It kind of teaches you, or includes all aspects of the game, and I don't know, helps with your ball making, cue ball position, you know, running into balls, breaking balls out, that kind of thing. And I think it's a great tool for practice for all games.
He also asked how you stay calm when the score is not in your favor.
Well, actually, for me, when the score's not in my favor, that kind of relieves pressure for me because I kind of loosen up a little bit, and I just realize, you know, you gotta play good to catch up, and so you just stay. I mean, for me, I just stay calm automatically when I'm down like that, and just try and play my best to get back into it.
Yeah. The person who is easily my favorite person for providing questions or helping me with questions is Erin Rogan, and she had a bunch. So the first thing she asked is 3 things that you could not live without.
Pool, exercise, and my friends.
And then, do you notice anything about other people's games when you're out and about in the, league or wherever, tournaments? She asked if you notice anything about other people's games.
Yeah. Being a pool player, you kind of learn to analyze other people's games to gauge their speed. And so there's a few certain things I look at when I watch someone play just to see where they're at or whatever.
What are those things?
Just kind of the way they cue at the ball, their stance, and how good their cue ball is, how well they pocket balls, that type of thing.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any tips for pocketing balls better?
No.
Well, Aaron asks, what are the most important things to know about pool etiquette?
Don't walk right in front of someone's shot while they're down. If you're at a distance, it's alright, but if you're a couple feet away from the table, it's not good etiquette. Don't be talking while the other person's shooting if you're in a match. Let's see, what else? Just be a good sportsman,
Mm-hmm.
Don't shake the person's hand after the match is over, win or lose, that type of thing.
Do you think it's important to respect your opponent or not respect your opponent?
There's a fine line there, I think. I think you have to respect your opponent before and after the match, but during the match, it's kind of, every man for themselves, so it's like, screw you, I'm gonna try and beat you to death. So, but afterwards, then you show them mutual respect.
So it doesn't sound like that respect for the person necessarily goes away or that type of thing, but
No, it's when you're in competition or competing, in a sense it does go away. I mean, you don't like start cussing at them or anything, but you just, you gotta win. You gotta try and beat them. So.
Kim Toops asked an interesting question. She said, being a young person, does it bug you when old timers try to tell you how to do something? Or do they? Do people...
No, in my eyes, you can learn anything from anybody. I've learned things from people younger than me, and I'm only 21. So I keep an open mind.
Do you have an example of that? Something that you've learned from someone younger than you?
Well, I've picked up a few things from Billy Thorpe. He's 19. So there's an example. Yeah, you just gotta keep an open mind, listen to what people have to say, and if it works for you, great. If not, just let it go.
Are there any players that maybe have a target on their back for you that you want to beat? And
Yeah. Vilmos Foldes is one. I come so close to beating him every single time, and I can't, and so I just want to beat him badly. So that's one. Mike DeShane, I want to beat him badly too. Not really anyone locally, but those two are ones that I'd really like to beat.
Is it harder to play friends in a tournament?
It is, especially if they're good friends, because my focus kind of goes out the window, and I have a soft spot for my friends sometimes, so I just let up, and I don't like to play them really in tournaments, but it happens, especially around here, so.
Aaron also asked if you have a favorite mentor and lesson.
Well, currently, Steve Lingelbach's my mentor, and he's a good one. And lesson, like, what do you mean?
Well, she asked the question, but I would assume that, whether... I know you have had different lessons that cover specific things, so whether it's a stroke lesson or a system lesson or, do you have a favorite?
Not really.
Okay. Tyler Hansen's asking, in practice or tournament, what's the largest pack your run? And wait a second here. Okay.
Biggest run and on what table?
So have you kept track of if you've ran 10 racks or that type of thing?
I haven't run 10 racks before. I've ran 6 though.
6?
Yes.
And then what size table?
9 foot diamond.
Nice.
9 ball. So, yeah.
When you started playing, were there any assumptions that you made about pool, and have those changed?
I thought there was a little more in pool than I expected, or what
Opportunities, you mean?
Yeah, that's what I meant. And turns out there isn't, which is unfortunate, but that's pretty much the main assumption.
And then have those assumptions changed, which is
No, they haven't.
not. So, we're getting toward the end of questions. If people have any other questions, they'll need to get them in right away, type of thing. that kind of brought me to the what would you like to see different in the sport or the game?
Um, I'd like to see more people get interested in it. I think if more interest was brought to the game, it would grow, expand. Of course, if more money, time, and effort was put into it, I think it would also grow a lot. I think just the interest in it needs to spike, and it's hard because pool isn't really a spectator sport for a lot of people. A lot of people don't really know the ins and outs of it and how hard it really is, and so it kind of takes their interest away.
Yeah. Do you think the game is too hard for people to get to an advanced level, and that's why it drops off, or
Could be. That would be. I mean, that would make sense.
Chris Robbins asked what your best match was, and who has been your favorite opponent, win or lose.
My best match is probably when I played Rodney Morris. I beat him 9-1, which was cool. He was a gentleman. He's always a gentleman. I look up to him as well. He's a great guy. And also Oscar Dominguez, win or lose, stand-up guy, great sportsman. Yeah, I love playing those guys.
Mandy Smith had asked a question, and I'm not sure if I completely understand it, but I think what she's asking is what's the best way to advise someone that they're playing the table and not the person? How would you tell someone or convince them that?
In reality, it's you and the table, or that's what you have to think. If you're worried about the opponent, you're in trouble. I mean, you have to just play the table. Let your opponent shoot when he shoots, but when you're shooting, it's you and the table. Your opponent's not even there. You just play the best pool you can, play the smartest pool you can.
Yeah.
That's the state of mind you have to be in. For me, when I'm in competition, I just zone everything out. It's literally just me and a pool table in a blank space outside of that.
Yeah. Bob asked if you what you think about using the magic rack versus a standard rack.
Well, I like the magic rack. It's definitely changed the game. I think the balls are all supposed to be touching, or that's what is expected, even with a standard rack, and the magic rack just ensures that.
Yeah.
So I don't have any problems with it. I think it's benefited the game in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
So.
You recently were in Las Vegas for the CSI BCA Nationals, and Kim Toops asked what you think of the Fargo ratings, and if you think they will help.
I think there's some issues with it. There was a lot of people there that were not what they were rated. They played either a lot better or a lot worse than their rating was. And seeing as it was handicapped, like the mini tournaments were handicapped based off your rating. So I was playing someone that was a 620 and I'm a 706 that, 9-ball in a bar box can play just as good as me, and I have to spot him 2 or 3 games. So it's kind of funny in that sense, but I think it's good as well. There's pros and cons for sure. So it gives everybody a solid, or skill level for them.
Do you think that it is going to be fairly accurate then when people get those matches under their belts?
I think so.
It sounds like, you feel positive about what it could be, but
I think it could be great. I just think some players aren't accurately rated, and
do you have an opinion about handicapping versus non-handicapping? Is handicapping necessary to keep the sport viable, or?
I think so. Sometimes handicapping it definitely evens the playing field. I mean, so I don't know. I mean, of course, the higher level players and stuff would rather have it not be handicapped, but handicapping it tournaments and events gives the lower level player more of a chance.
Yeah. Darren asked if you think having a height advantage gives you a stroke advantage, meaning more power or that sort of thing.
Yeah, that's basic physics. I mean, I got a lot larger swing than most people, I think, because my arms are so long, and so I'm able to get a lot more power on the break and a lot bigger stroke.
Yeah. And what? Tyler Hansen wants to know if you're going to, since Steve is your mentor, if you're going to start grunting or, staring off into space type of thing.
Well, I already stare off into space, but I'm not going to start grunting, no.
Do you have any questions for him?
Sure. I don't know if we've covered goals.
Nope.
I thought we did.
That's why I asked. Do you have any short-term goals, long-term goals?
Oh yeah, we did.
He
He talked about winning a Mez stop, and so we did talk about goals. Sorry.
What about giving back to the game in that regard, or possibly teaching at one point, or things like that?
If I see younger players or players that are lower level than me, I don't hesitate to show them stuff or answer any questions they have. I think that's one way of giving back to the game. I like to pass on any knowledge I have to people who want to learn stuff. And that's my number one way of giving back.
Do you think giving back is important? Do you think some players
totally
do and some don't?
A lot of people don't. And I think being there to bring the game up a little bit, as far as showing people stuff like that, spike their interest, I think that'll help it grow. And some people, don't even do that, so.
I think probably the most important question that we've left out was the one that Kim Allen asked, and that was, are you single?
Yes, I'm single. So, there you have it.
All right, anything else you want to say?
Thanks for doing the interview. I hope any questions that you guys had I answered okay.
We know where to find you.
Yep, you do.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Bye, pool friends.